episode number 65. You're joining myself, Chris, and once again, reunited, it's a Christmas miracle, ladies and gentlemen, with the techie teacher himself in his brand new coloured cube, Mr. Tom. Merry Christmas. How are you doing? Welcome back.
I feel pretty good to be back, to be honest with you, because literally all I've been doing is sitting here watching paint dry. Literally.
Wonderful. And below Tom, we have the man of many Christmas jumpers returning this week, Mr. Richie himself. Looking very festive for once, Richie. I thought he's me thinking you were just the Scrooge amongst the three of us.
I definitely am the Scrooge, but this is all just for the camera.
It's all just for show. It's all just falsehoods and such. How are you doing anyway?
For audio listeners, I'm wearing a Christmas hat and a Star Wars Christmas jumper.
For audio listeners, he's naked. Celebrating Christmas.
I think from the waist down, no one can know.
No one will ever know.
That's a Christmas miracle.
It's festive to go naked from the waist down in my house.
And that is why you live on your own. But you're not here for talking of festivities and returning cast members as it was. Although we will certainly be touching on that because I think we need a good catch up, Tom. It's been a while for both ourselves but our audience. I'm sure we'll all love to know what you've been playing. But if you were joining the show, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget, of course, to give us a like and a subscribe down below so you're kept in the loop with everything going on here at Sounds of Stadia. And it's been a busy couple of weeks, so we've got a great show lined up for you. And if you are not familiar with the show, we bring you all the Stadia and gaming news wrapped up into an hour or so long podcast episode, which you can get on YouTube where you're watching this now. Or if you're not watching, you're listening, you can find us on all podcast feeds around the world as well. So just, search us out and you shall find us. Like I said, great show this week. We've the year may be wrapping up, pun intended, but we will not be. We'll be unwrapping. I was going to make a point about Richie there again. I was like, no, I'm not going to go. I said unwrapping and then my mind wandered again. But that's not. We've got, in this week's show, we've got Google going down. Everyone panicking and realising that apparently the world runs off the power of Google. Ubisoft launching Ubisoft Plus not worldwide. We'll talk about that as well soon. Cyberpunk having some kind of royal dildo fuck up on last gen and how that impacts Stadia and cloud gaming in general. Of course, all the Christmas merriment and our plans as we trickle towards New Year as well. All coming up in this week's show. But let's get started. Tom, welcome back.
Hello. Like
a delightful present under the tree, you return on Christmas Day for us to enjoy and revel in. How have you been? You've got a new room set up. You moved into your new home, obviously. What have you been up to? Yeah. Give us an update.
Adulting. Like literally, it has been non-stop. Just decorating, tearing up flooring, placing new flooring in, appliances fit in, this, that, and the other. I have not had a chance to game at all. I think across the span of what has been probably, I think we're talking about like 2.5 weeks perhaps now. It's been 2.5 weeks or so. I've maybe played about 2 hours of games in total, most of which has been either Outcasters or Cyberpunk. So very, very much feeling that itch at the moment to get back into gaming. But you can see the office I'd say it's coming on, but it's not really. The walls are painted. There's a tree and there's some sort of fabricated desk. I wouldn't really call this a desk. It's more like boxes with bits on it.
Is it like your typical, your bachelor apartment breeze blocks with with a bit of wood between them?
Yeah, it's the car without tires.
Send the tweet out with a photo of it now.
Yeah, I'll get something out there. But no, things are coming along swimmingly. The plan now is really to sort of like hunker down after the holidays and really focus on the office. So hopefully by the time the new year rolls around, I should be in a position where everything's just kitted out again now. But I mean, I haven't even got a blind here. I'm literally sitting in front of a window and you can see the light just changing constantly because as the sun comes in and out. But I'm doing good. We're doing great here. It's really, really good to actually be in a new house now. But damn, it's a lot of work. I never really realised how much work it is.
It only just
especially
begins.
Especially decorating as well. You're moving and decorating. I don't envy you.
Yeah,
but
it's good to be back. That now makes much more sense why you crammed in Sekiro 100% and Jedi Fallen Order 100% before the adulting took place because there's always that void of it. Again, I think as gamers we usually find like that kind of fear of missing out is real, especially when like a new title launches and you've moved house as we get arguably the biggest game of the year launch as well. So that probably just adds to the itch with all the stories and news going on. It must be like
It's just weird because it feels to me like I'm on some sort of like desert island because I've seen so many news articles and so on, but having not really had the chance to really firsthand experience any of these sort of like glitches and this, that, and the other, which you've talked about, I'm just sort of sitting here thinking, well, I've bought the game and I'm ready to play it, but I've just literally cracked the tutorial and that's it. That's as far as I've gotten. So.
Oh, well, it's a good like 6 hours or so before you even hit the title screen, so you've got a bit to go on that one. So we'll be talking about all that as well. We've obviously got a bit of Christmas housekeeping for you all at this festive time. Me and Richie jumped in this past week into our first look. Well, not my first look, but our first kind of together look at Avengers Kate Bishop DLC dropped this Thursday. A lot of you lovely people joined us for our Thursday community streams where we got to jump in and play as the one Hawkeye, as she's known, but also Kate Bishop. If you've not checked her out yet, Tom, if you ever get round to it, she plays great. Absolutely great. Like she's got basically like a katana blade. She's kind of imbued with these, I don't want to say cosmic powers, but Hank Pym's basically helped her out, so she can traverse the world with kind of like Nightcrawler abilities, where you can pop up and down and around to avoid enemies and navigate the environment. And then she also has a killer bow, which I said to Richie looks like it does take a lot of skills from almost like the Tomb Raider games, because Richie said Tomb Raider's only known for Square Enix, are only known for the Tomb Raider titles.
I didn't say that.
That was Richie's hardened message.
No, during the stream, Chris was like, what's the other franchise that Square Enix are known for? And my immediate thought was Final Fantasy. He's like, what's he going on about here? And he's like, Tomb Raider.
It's Tomb Raider. They got 3 well, they've got more than 3 games out.
But
I was specifically
Chris,
focused
I'm going
on
to correct
you.
It was Tomb Raider bitch.
Tomb Raider bitch, yeah, it was, yeah. Not if anyone's not aware as well, that could sound wrong if it's so far detached. Yeah, we don't mean Tomb Raider is a bitch. Go watch the final Let's Play. Which is still available on our channel, which is youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia Games. But yeah, we got to check that out. Interesting bit of fun. I did actually really love the dialogue and the energy Kate Bishop brings to the roster. I think it does. They've obviously had some time to sit on the game so far, and it's back very much like Stadia. Avengers has got a lot of backlash in the media, and it's kind of got an uphill climb now to prove to people that it's worthy of the franchise IP. And it's got arguably a long road ahead of it, but from what I've played and from what a few of my friends have played of it, if you take it as a front of what it is, and that is if you're an MCU or an Avengers fan and you've wanted to go around smash stuff up as your favourite heroes, there's nothing better out there, and arguably there's been nothing better like that in the last decade. So fill your boots with it if you're into that kind of fun. And I'll certainly be jumping back in whenever they drop more content, because I've loved going back to it. And again, that I'm not big on grindy games, but that is one I think that the IP attached to that game does keep me coming back for more, because I'm such a Marvel fan. Whereas if it was like Destiny, Division, I kind of trail off and stop playing and lose interest for the grind. But with this, because the characters that I know and love, and I think we've got MCU, how much stuff did Disney just announce for Disney Plus for Marvel? It's always going to be in my kind of mindset, whereas Destiny, yes, they get the update, but it's not something I'm as passionate about, to say the least. So looking forward to playing some more of that. Me and Richie also got spooky once again with Guilt. We took to the theatre to fight Benedict Cumberbatch this week in our aptly named boss fight. He's one scary son bitch, that's for sure. Creeping around in the theatre chasing a little girl. What a monster.
Did you manage to get out of there without getting spotted?
No, we got to see it like 7 times. It was more so the way the light worked. It kind of didn't track as fairly as we thought it would, and there was a few times where it caught us, and it was like we were hidden then, and it's a whole thing.
It's one of the achievements I've got to go back to get on Guilt, because it's just one of those things. Unfortunately, with Guilt, you can't sort of like go back to that point just to do that, just to get that achievement. You're gonna go right back to the beginning of the game again, which sucks.
It's a shame it doesn't have like a chapter select. Like available once you complete the game. Just
one of the few achievements I need to get as well. It absolutely sucks.
So close. I will while we're here talking about Guilt anyway, and Tom, obviously you finished the story in it. How did you find the game? Because obviously this is a game, if you've not played it already, ladies and gentlemen, it's available on Stadia. It's still a Stadia exclusive, surprisingly. I honestly thought after a year that would have ended and it would have rolled out everywhere else, but it's still a Stadia exclusive. It's still a pro game, actually, if I'm not mistaken as well.
I think it is.
If not, apologies, go buy it. It can only be cheap right now. But in the game, one of the things that me and Richie keep addressing almost every time we play it is the animation, the art style is gorgeous, undoubtedly. It's lovely, it fits the theme of the game, and it works really well to add that eerie undertone, especially when you're in the what we refer to as the upside down, kind of from Stranger Things world. But there's something jarring about the cutscenes. They've got like animated cutscenes, in-game graphics, and then there's random like comic book strip bits added in, and I said to Richie a few times, it kind of throws off the tone of the game, because all of a sudden you go through a door and it cuts to a cutscene, and then that cutscene is then interjected with like a random comic strip, and it's like, did they just not have time to do the animation for the game? But
corners.
yeah, it
Maybe.
was just
Maybe.
a bit weird. But
I'm sort of with you on that. It is a bit jarring, because all of a sudden it just takes you out of the action just straight into a comic, and then you're just like,
yeah, it was almost just like pick a style and stick to it, because I think the animation looks so great. But all I can think is it was time related, and they've used like the comic book was almost like their storyboard. And then eventually, like, oh, we're on the clock here, everybody. And it's like, oh, okay. Just publish the storyboard, yeah.
Steve, get the scanner.
I think it's coming up probably in the next episode, where there's a moment where we leave somewhere and getting chased by things, but it's done through the comic rather than you actually having to do it.
Yeah, there is gameplay wise. Well, we spent about 5 minutes afterwards saying like that would have been such an epic in-game moment. Yeah. Because the fear level was really, really built up and the pressure was building, and then all of a sudden I'm watching a comic book storyboard, and it's like, I would have liked to be part of that moment rather than just watching a virtual comic book. But either way, go check out our Guild Let's Play. Episode 5 is certainly up, and it's definitely getting creepy and eerie. And me and Richie are having a great time playing it, so look out for that one on our YouTube channel. And basically, the only kind of final thing, Tom, was to catch up with what you've been playing, but obviously you've been playing with tools and paintbrushes and all those adult things. You did manage to get your tree up, though.
I did. Yeah. In fact, actually, I'm going to give a shout out to my sister. My sister did that for me. So, thanks to her for doing that, because I've been so busy. But just all of a sudden, like, the tree's done. Okay, great.
I got shit for that for my trio.
Tom wasn't here to give shit to for not having this tree up, so...
Been busy.
What are you going to do? Exactly, adult things. But you have broken up now, being a teacher, so you've got a little bit more time to probably settle in and relax over this festive season as well.
Yeah, definitely needed. We've still got a lot to do, but I think we're just winding down right before the holidays. Pick it back up again once that's out of the way.
Wonderful. So that is that. Obviously, like we said before, Stadia Podcast, that's what we do here. There's also plenty of opportunity to interact with us across the community. We do have a Discord channel as well, which is getting busier every day with some wonderful chat, and you'll quite regularly find me, Richie and Tom in there talking to our community and people about all things Stadia and in gaming in general. It's a great group of people, and if you are wanting some more familiar chat, by all means check it out. The link's in the description below. Join us and talk to us on a daily basis, because like I said, I just use it as a messenger service. When I drop in, if there's something I feel like I can contribute to, I reply, and it's great. So if you ever watch this show, you listen.
It feels like I'm in a WhatsApp group with a bunch of friends.
Yeah, it's great, and I know a lot of you watch along. Literally hundreds of you watch along, and I'm one of those people who's just a silent listener. There's so much content I listen to, but honestly, if you have a question for us, if you want to interact with us, just reach out. We're more than happy to engage with you all, so definitely check that out, along with Facebook and some other community pages that we run as well, across all social feeds. But that's not what you're here for, ladies and gentlemen. You are here for the long-awaited return of
the super sexy special Stadia Story segment, aka
the news. It's good to say that.
Feels
again.
good.
That does feel good. That does feel good.
Welcome back, Tom. Welcome back.
And a massive shout out as well to our special guests, Rock and Sunny, over the last fortnight, who stepped into Tom's shoes to give it their extra special spin. And Tom, if I'm honest, they did a stellar job. You've got Rock's amazing radio voice. To be fair, Sonny's got a stellar voice as well. There's something, they both got that baritone deepness. I'm sure our audio listeners out there were thinking, damn, who is this smooth as butter guest they've got on these shows to do this? But yeah, it's nice to hear it in your tones as well. Bringing it back. The OG.
Sorry, I can't impress folks.
Some people just love that. It's that comfort food. They're like, the guests were great, but it wasn't quite hitting it on the nail.
Yeah. It's like when you go to like some like knockoff McDonald's restaurant just to be like
Burger King.
It's just not the same, is it? It's not the same.
It's not the same, yeah. Definitely not the same. One of the things that isn't the same, I found recently, I've got The Simpsons on kind of loop on Disney Plus, and the latest season Bless her, the poor woman who does the voice of Marge is starting to get on a bit. She's nearly 70. And her voice, you know, that raspiness Marge has in her voice, it's starting to get quite raspy, but not in a familiar way now. And I've seen on the internet, because like naturally, like everyone goes Google, did they recast the voice actress for Thingy? And no, she's just getting on a bit, bless her. And I'm sure 30 years of putting that voice on, even though I think it sounds like her.
If you watched it routinely all along, you probably wouldn't have noticed the change. But then if you go back and watch the old episodes, you'd be like, oh yeah, there's been a drastic change.
Yeah, but that's voice actors, thankfully. Anyway, it's committed to the role. I'm sure we sound different now than we do on episode 1. Probably more scared and naive about everything that we're doing. But we did do on episode 1 the news, because that's been an ever consistent present throughout all 65 episodes of this show. And yes, you are here, everybody, to talk about the news. So let's get into it. We've got story number 1 up first on the dock. Ubisoft, the amazing partner for Google Stadia, the biggest they've probably got the most games on the platform than any other publisher. They announced, kind of in tandem with Stadia this week, that Ubisoft Plus, formerly known as Uplay Plus, has arrived on Stadia, gentlemen. So naturally, we all jumped in and played it, right? This past week, we got our sub and we jumped into all those hundreds of games that are available to Stadia players worldwide, right? Why do you both seem so taken aback by that statement? Is there something that I've missed or I've not mentioned, or maybe when I put a tweet out, I should be very specific about where it's available?
It is the beta. Let's put it that way. It's a beta, so it's not the end of the world that it's closed off to just the US.
Oh, is that what we're getting at, Richie? Is that what we're getting? That's right, everybody. So for those obviously listening around the world and not just in the United States, obviously no disrespect to our friends over on that side of the pond. Sorry?
No games for you.
No games for you. But obviously, this is just it seems to be a trend with cloud gaming that everything lands first in the States. And unfortunately, they came out with a tweet saying you can go sign up for Ubisoft Plus, and like probably myself, you two probably went straight to the link to check out the price and how it would work and how to pay your account. And to our dismay, unfortunately, this beta is in the US only. So there's a conversation. Obviously, we won't try and sound bitter. Personally, I'm not overly sold on Ubisoft Plus yet. I like to just have my game to play, and I'm kind of fatigued by subscription models right now. I have Amazon, I have Netflix, I have PlayStation Plus, I have Stadia Pro. I've got probably far too many that I really want to count. So adding another one, I know it breaks the cost down easy, but I'm still thinking, like Riders Republic doesn't do anything for me, but if I cancel my subscription in like a year's time, I won't have the games. And again, this is the great thing with the Stadia model, is you have that choice. You could still just buy the game singly, regardless of any subscriptions. But there are obviously a lot of people out there, and if you look at any post about this on Stadia's account about Ubisoft Plus, the comments are just, forget when's it coming to India, it's when's it coming to the rest of the world. There's more to the world than just the United States, and obviously they roll it out there because, let's face it, Google are an American company, so rightly so, you'd roll it out. It's the most profitable market. It's on their home turf. There's many varieties. In fact, obviously the United States in its own, the sheer geographical span practically is 50 countries all in one anyway, all mini states to their own right. So it's a great testing bed for this kind of thing. So I totally understand why they do it. It is just frustrating with the messaging to come out and just say, it's available now, and the fact is it's not for a lot of people.
I think one of the things that was most frustrating for me was the fact that we were always told, like, Ubisoft Plus by the end of the year, but it's never been exclusively said until it came out that it is US only beta. And then even likewise for the rest of the world, we still don't really have any sort of like fixed idea of when it's going to come. We're just being told it's going to be whenever it lands, right? Like I'm pretty sure, unless I've missed something, that there's no actual date telling us when it's going to come to Europe, when it's going to the rest of the world.
No.
So
there's no information on how long the beta will last for.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think this just, with all the good praise and the positive, it goes back to just that the marketing team have been smashing it out the park recently. Let's face it, like since the Cyberpunk stuff dropped and the Good Stuff event, and they've just garnered nothing but traction and positivity. And then it's again, it's not that undoing. You can still play the games. So let's not bitch and moan too much, because the fact is, if you want to play Valhalla, Watch Dogs, whatever, just go buy it. I'm hoping they're actually going to get a price decrease this current week, because if you look on other platforms, they've just had a 33% sale on Immortals, Watch Dogs, and it's kind of, if you bought this game on launch day, it just goes to show, Richie, you're a big advocate. If you just hold off a little bit longer, you'll be able to save a fortune.
Yeah, that's how I got so many games for my PS4 initially. I just went back and bought physical. It happens more to physical games rather than digital copies, but because basically Amazon doesn't want to think boxes just sat in their warehouse. They want it gone, so they'll drop the price. So if, even 6 months after a game comes out, you can look sometimes getting like almost, depending on how popular the game is, sometimes even half price.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Patience is definitely a virtue. And Ubisoft dropped sales throughout the year. There's so many times I've looked at games that I've maybe just missed, but then it sits in that sweet spot where it's like £12, £13, or like less than $15, I suppose. And people go like, that's like not even that much for me to drop on it. And I'll get to it eventually. And then I never play it. And then it's just sat in my library. It is, yeah, exactly. That Stadia Pro price. But in terms of this, I think the only information we've had is, I think, there is somewhere in the Ubisoft support terms and conditions that does state the cloud version of Ubisoft Plus will be coming in a beta, and it does say United States only. So I think it does say in the press information. So I think I'll read it. Script: the cloud beta in Ubisoft Plus will open. This is when people thought it was only coming to Luna, and within the Luna terms and conditions, it said, and Google Stadia, please note that US residents will be only able to participate in the beta. So I think it was known, but it was kind of lost so far down legal terms and conditions that you wouldn't read too much into it.
We thought that was attached to Luna, with Luna being US only at the moment.
Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah. People read into that, and then evidently it now means this. But for me, yeah, you're right, Tom. The biggest disappointment is the messaging around it coming by the end of the year. At no point have they explicitly said only to this country or only in beta form. I think we all thought Luna would beta test it, and then when it comes to Stadia, like most features, it's just ready to go when it's shadow dropped, and unfortunately, it wasn't.
I'm wondering, have they extended this beta just so they can hit that line that, yeah, it did come to the platform by the end of the year, and maybe they're not ready to launch it like wholesale yet, and we need to get something out there in order to like keep our promises, which is why it's so late in the year it comes. Like,
I'm still quite interested in how the actual model works from a business perspective. If you think about, like, you know, Ubisoft are basically saying, like, put all of our games, our entire back catalogue in your servers, in your architecture, and then as long as we have this subscription, there's got to be some sort of deal in relation to, like, saying, like, to Google, to the Stadia team, if people sub, then, you know, we get X amount of that sub and so on. But because they can't be running it from their own system through Stadia, it has to be hosted on Amazon's, on Google's servers, surely.
It probably just goes off playtime. Like, you get a cut based on playtime, so the more people play on Google Stadia, through Ubisoft Plus, the more money Google will make off it.
Maybe. One of the reasons why I'm a little bit disappointed by this is because I cancelled my Immortals Phoenix Rising pre-order. I know I've got a lot of other games to play and I haven't had a lot of time to do it, but I have sort of like been itching to play that. So
that was.
Do I now buy it?
That was kind of my next question, because I wasn't that fussed on Ubisoft Plus. I've got these. I already own these games for Fool be me when I see all these price drops for Legion and Immortals, which I've not even got around to yet. They're stacked up as my Christmas games, but again, like an avid gamer, I wanted day one just in case I wanted to play it. But then we got Valhalla and we got Cyberpunk, and there's only so much time in the day. So yeah, I've kind of put them on the back burner, looking forward to getting them into Christmas. And then now just it burns me a little bit that I'm like, now I've just spent collectively probably £20-25 more than I would have had to if I just held off 3 weeks for, like, let's face it, Immortals hasn't even been out. It's just been out over a month, just. So it's one of those things again. But that's full be me. But in terms of the Ubisoft Plus model, are you two looking to get into that, or are you going to buy them individually still when it does go out?
I am, because of things like I want to have a go of Watch Dogs. I want to play Immortals Phoenix Rising. I was planning to get Valhalla on Ubisoft Plus, but then ultimately I bought it. So I am initially going to get it. I don't know if I'll keep it open all year round, but when you get like a horde of games like we have over the last few months from Ubisoft, I think it definitely makes sense for that time period.
Yeah, I think I'm very similar to you as well. I sort of want to dip into it for the back catalogue as opposed to like the newer titles coming out. Yeah. Although like the benefit of having the new titles immediately would be great too, without having to drop like, you know, a £60 price tag on it or a £50 price tag. But to be able to go back and play like the older titles, like we've recently received Syndicate and Unity, and Origins as well. But I'm not quite feeling like I want to drop, even though it's quite cheap. I don't really want to drop that cash on it yet because of the fact that I've got all these games. But if I have that subscription, for me personally, the way I see it is it's sort of like I can pay that fee per month, and then I can dip into all of those games rather than buying them each individually. And yeah, I'm sort of still working my head around it, like from a costing exercise. Yeah. But I think initially it's something that I would do. But like Richie said, I don't think I'd keep it open for forever. Yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't. I'd only keep it open when I want to play games. Yeah. I might close it down for like 3 months and then suddenly get itching to play an Assassin's Creed game. There's a month.
It's an interesting one because I kind of think it lends itself to the Netflix model almost, where if Ubisoft time their game releases right, they should be able to do it in a manner that there's always something on the horizon, so then you never get around to cancelling because, like you said, Richie, you go like, I want to play a Ubisoft game, but we know they put out tons of titles all within usually it piques somebody's interest. So I'd be interested to see, yes, you put say 3 months into Valhalla, January through to April, and then just as that you're like, oh well, Far Cry comes out middle of next month, so then it's like that's committed you for another 2-3 months, and then there's another Tom Clancy game, and it's like they've got that much in their catalogue. I think Ubisoft, of all the publishers, have actually that distinct way of keeping people subscribed, because again, you're not really going to be fussed about 1 month, are you, if you know there's a big title on the horizon?
Well, it'd almost be good if they aimed like for every other month a big title come.
It's clever,
because most people are probably going to spend more than a month playing through a big title, so then you keep that subscription up for 2 months, and then the next month, I've got this coming next, just in time for me finishing up this game.
Yeah, but then that goes back to the financial argument, doesn't it? That if you buy like the gold edition of these games, which I'm right in thinking that that's the version you get the premium edition of the game within Ubisoft Plus, you get all the season pass content and such as well. Then they drop at like £80, $90 odd dollars. So realistically, for the 120, it's not 120. Sorry, it'll probably be coming about £150 a year. You're breaking even quite. If you are a regular like player of Ubisoft titles, you break even quite well on that deal across the 12 months.
Well, yeah.
So
if you think like a AAA title now goes between 50 and 60 quid, if you complete it 2 months to finish it, you're still in profit effectively.
Yeah,
and you can play across multiple platforms now. That's the other thing. Like we know Stadia is great, but if you have that whole Ubisoft Connect world, the best thing I realised about Valhalla was played it on PlayStation 4, and then as soon as I booted up the PS5 version without doing anything, the save was there. It just linked to my Ubisoft account. I was like, bang, there it is. 10 hours in, go. And it was like, huh.
I'd love for Ubisoft Plus to get itself over to PlayStation 5. That can't happen soon enough.
Yeah, because then you've just got it.
There's things like that I prefer the PlayStation 5 for now. Things like the controller. Well, I actually think the Google Stadia controller is more comfortable. The rumble and the adaptive triggers are phenomenal.
So you've come around to that controller now, have you, Richie?
Oh no, it's not good. And honestly, there's a massive right. The two-tone color stuff is actually uncomfortable.
I've set him off now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I take it back.
Not flush. Yeah, the gas comes out flush, so it's uncomfortable to hold.
No, it does actually the DualSense conversation as well. We won't get too much into it, but it really does have high hopes for me with pushing the likes of the Xbox controller. Nintendo obviously had it with the Joy-Cons with the rumble inside, and the Stadia controller. Brian kept doing this over at the Nerf Report as well. He's been calling it the Stadia Pro controller for 12 months. And it was somebody, he asked a question on Twitter going, does anyone else call that? I was like, no, its name is just the Stadia controller, but so many people refer to it as the Stadia Pro controller. But yeah, I think it really could push everyone forward in terms of just the dynamics of play, and I'm looking forward to a world we live in 2021, hopefully, where we get a revised Stadia controller, maybe a Stadia Pro controller that does have similar haptic feedback, because you've got to think they're all thinking about it now, right? Sony have hit it out the park with the DualSense, so exciting times. But yeah, Ubisoft stuff's exciting. Obviously, I can't imagine we're going to get it too late. Ubisoft have been so good with supporting Stadia, and they're quite good at getting stuff out the door when they need to. I'd imagine it's just going to be early next year. Probably like a late January, February surprise or something. But we'll keep our eye. And then I need to make a decision of do I just give up on... I feel like it's something weird about buying the game. You feel like you own it more than renting the game. I think it's the old Blockbuster kid inside me who's like, oh, if you're only renting it, you'd never actually own it. But then again, we don't own it anyway.
Away from the need to feel like I own the game when I moved over to cloud gaming as my predominant place where I game, because I've known for a long time, even back in the day, like you used to get a CD key and type it in. You own a license to play the game. That's it. Nothing's changed in that regards. It's just
you're right.
But yeah, I'm okay with not owning the game.
You're over it. You're over it.
Yeah, I think it's a bygone mentality. I think now, like we there's a lot of media that we no longer own, and that just came with the trend of Netflix, really.
Yeah. Oh, things like Spotify. I don't own the music I listen to. I don't own the TV shows I watch. I don't own the movies I watch.
Yeah.
Gaming's no different.
Yeah, I think that's the thing specifically with Stadia, which we know a lot of people have given shit for, saying like, oh, it won't be around in 2 years, it won't be around this. And again, I think that is always with all digital media moving away. It is the point of like, could you imagine if like Spotify ever went away and you'd have to think like, oh, what else? I'm like, no one wants to use Deezer. Or anything like that. There are other ones that exist, obviously Apple Music and stuff, but they're kind of just like, how long have they been around for? Like 7-8 years now? They're not. We say they're not going anywhere, but then look at this week with Google going down. It can happen. It can happen. Yeah. But speaking of things that kind of can come and go, shouldn't have happened. Yeah. Story number 2 of the week is obviously Cyberpunk 2077. You may have heard of it. It's been in the news. It's been in all the news. It's made national news as well because it's the biggest title of the year, arguably, and obviously missed out on Game of the Year conversations because of the pushback of the date. And in our New Year's episode next week, there's quite a lot of ironic conversation when we're going to bring up the history of the year and we talk about the delays and the launch and stuff. But if you've not heard, Cyberpunk 2077 has been released to the world. It's getting good reviews from a gameplay standpoint, but then it's also getting re-reviews depending on the hardware in which you were using it on. And us 3 gentlemen playing it on Google Stadia for what little or more time we have played, we're all having a terrific experience so far. Yes, there is your typical bugs and glitches which just make you smile and chuckle. However, apparently our gaming brethren on the other side of the coin, over on last gen, so that 120 million plus PlayStation 4 people and 50-60 million Xbox One players, unfortunately they apparently are having a bit of a shit show out in Night City, gentlemen. And to a point where Sony have pulled the game from the digital storefront. This is unprecedented, right? I've never seen a game of this, like maybe an odd indie title that we're not aware of due to some legal thing or like there's something in there that needs to be pulled, but never a game of this scope has been removed from the store after launch. Like, there's no words, right?
I think there's some politicking going on here. I think because initially Cyberpunk did offer a refund, from what I can tell, without consulting Sony.
Yeah, so there is many caveats to this story, and we're gonna explain it. But yes, Richie, CD Projekt Red came out with one of those bright yellow banner apologies. Big yellow title screen. I thought the game was delayed again when I saw that yellow banner. I thought I'm 15 hours in, but somehow they've delayed it again. Yeah, that subconscious part of me, when I see that yellow banner, I'm just expecting a delay. They've took the game from me. But yeah, they came out and said we apologise. I don't have the article up to quote, but they said stuff like, we should have focused on making the game more playable. It's like, maybe, yeah. Like, there's no one.
Whole thing of game design.
It's like there's no one. I'm sure this message was proofread 50 million times. It had so many important high up people and lawyers and stuff, and yet they still managed.
Why retweet. Like, too many people will probably having the saying, like, oh, you can't say that, you can't say that. Let's just say something like doesn't incriminate in any way, shape, or form, and you end up with nothing.
I mean, they've ended up saying we should have tried harder to make the game playable. Like that's like one of the worst things you can say is someone who makes a game.
Completely a nothing statement.
Oh, but that should have been job number 1, right? Making the game playable.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So aside from that, the other caveat is they then came out and said we were happy to issue refunds for players who don't feel like they've got their satisfaction out of the initial game. To which then obviously several gamers probably probably a couple hundred or thousands or whatever out there went to get their refund because the game runs buggy as shit on last gen. And to which Sony and Xbox, obviously, they have their own refund policies. They turned around and said, well, actually, if you've played the game, no, that's not our refund policy.
Yeah.
To which Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red then said, actually, the rules are down to their own individual storefronts, and it's not a blanket refund. We've set up a website, CD Projekt /refund or whatever, you can go to try and request money back, and it just turned into a whole shit show in 2077, and then to which then Sony just responded by saying, you know what, we're just going to pull the game from the digital storefront. So if you search for Cyberpunk on PlayStation right now, it does not show up. It is not anywhere, which is, again, this game was arguably going to be the game of the year for a lot of outlets, had it pinned as like the one to watch out for, and it's getting like 4s and it's getting 9s and 10s across the board for the campaign and the story. But IGN, obviously the biggest reviewer arguably out there in the world, they reviewed it on PS4 and Xbox One and gave it a 4. And I think I've got the quote here actually. They said, please don't play Cyberpunk 2077 on a base PS4 or Xbox One. It is a shockingly bad way to experience what is otherwise a fantastic RPG on better hardware. 4 out of 10.
This is where I don't get IGN's scaling, because if you're having the line, please don't play this game in your article, how can you give it a 4?
Yeah.
Surely that's a 0.
Well,
if you're literally telling your audience, do not play this game, 0. Like,
do not play this game unless you don't care, and then you want to get through it. But obviously, in a nutshell, gentlemen, like I've not had any of this. I'm about 25 hours into the game now. I've got past the title screen. I've hooked up with Keanu. We're going about Night City doing our shit. And like I said, apart from a couple of funny glitches and bugs here and there, it runs smooth as shit. Like, don't get me wrong, the driving mechanics are still utter crap. Like, the car handles like rubbish.
I feel like they shot themselves in the foot, because they actually they delayed the game as well for the port to PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
Well,
specifically to make it run better. So they've set this up to be a bit of a fall, and it's all. I think it would have been better if they just said earlier in the year, like, we're not going to bother with PS4 and Xbox One.
And I'm with you on that. I feel like that's exactly what they should have done, because all they've done now is they've just caused negative press, and I mean, this is wiping value off of the business as well.
This is why
shareholders are pissed off.
This is why it made national news. Because I think the valuation of the company dropped by like $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, huge amount of money.
And then on the flip side, they made all of their costs back in one day, because they sold 8 million copies or more in pre-orders. So they became immediately solvent. And then I think CD Projekt came out and said all the dev team are going to get the bonuses. Because it was the higher ups that made the decision to push the game when the devs probably wanted more time. We saw that by the pushback of all the delays. Yeah. But there's just so many caveats to this story where they came out and said, like, it's not playable. And I've seen people on Twitter say, they should have just done it for next gen. Let's remember, this game has been in development for 5, 6, 7 years. We didn't even know about the PS5 or Series X for, even beyond last year. So it's no excuse to say it's not ready for last gen. They've been developing it for last gen for half a bloody decade. So you can't just say, like, all of a sudden it only runs on top-end PC. They've been making it for PS4 and Xbox base for years.
I think they've been making this for PC, using PC hardware, and it's only when they start the port process they've realised probably a lot of compatibility issues. And that's probably when at the point where they started asking for delays. Mm-hmm. How can we get this working? Because on PC, apparently it works fine. Mm-hmm. Obviously, hardware dependent, but that's PC gaming. And on Stadia, it works fine. I don't know. Has anyone known anyone's played on Xbox Series or PlayStation 5?
Yeah, so it actually plays better on next gen compared to Stadia.
So it's literally PS4 and Xbox One.
It's just previous gen. Yeah.
But the reality is that's where the millions upon millions and millions of players have those consoles. Again, let's remember, this time of year, we're recording this on the 20th of December. They're sold out. You can't get your hands on a Series X or a PS5. So the margin and percentage of people who are playing it on their current hardware is a lot. Like it's the biggest chunk of the gaming market right now, because PC is quite niche, especially top end. Stadia is quite niche as it stands. if there's only a handful, like Richie, there's only me and you I know who have a PS5, and you only got yours this last couple of days. So obviously the new tech can run it faster because it can just do all the grunt work a bit quicker. But I just feel bad for people who've been hyped. Like I joked on Cloudburst yesterday. There are people out there who have this game wrapped under their tree and they're not going to get to experience it.
No.
Who've probably none aware of the news. They're going to whack that disc in Christmas Day and go, "Oh man, I've been waiting for this game." On their base PS4. Poor little Timmy who sat there going, "It's the only game I wanted for Christmas." And it's just
Timmy, full stop.
And it's just a patched nightmare of a mess. I honestly think the scope of the game just got away from them, and the time frame and the crunch of we need to get this game out because we've been developing it for nearly a decade.
I think the development over a decade is a bit a stretch because they started planning the game over a decade ago.
I mean, yeah.
But the actual development in the game didn't really start properly until the end, like actual Witcher 3 Blood and Wine came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're talking more like 4 years of being in development, not 8.
Yeah, which
is still a long time, but I genuinely think what they've had is when they've started the porting process over and started to like, okay, we're happy with the game, let's port it on the different platforms and start like kind of bug fixing, probably happens quite late in development. They've realised it's a shit show on PS4 and Xbox One, and then suddenly with the delays, they're backed up against the wall, and rather than just going, look, coming out, it's not good enough yet on PS4 and Xbox One, so we're not releasing it on them consoles till we're happy, it's going to piss people off.
On the other hand, though, look at
it's still the game still comes out, but although they might not been able to, there might have been contracts with like Sony and Microsoft.
There would have been.
Yeah,
there might have literally just been, with all the contractual issues, backed into a corner. Shareholders telling them to release the game.
I think they've been strong-armed, and they've been strong-armed by bad executive decisions at the end of the day. But on the flip side of this, like, look how good this is for the PC and the Stadia market right now. Like, there's people taking to social media who've literally refunded it from taking the refund, and they've invested in getting Stadia and getting it on Stadia because of the press that's coming with it, which is fantastic news.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen as well. There's a YouTuber, Nintendo, who also posted on Twitter as well. He's sort of like flashed his Nintendo Switch to have access to the Chrome browser, and he's now playing Cyberpunk 2077 on his Switch via Stadia.
Oh, that's awesome.
So even Switch, shout out to Nintendo by the way, even Switch can play it better than PS4 and Xbox One. It's mad.
I don't get even if we assume they're being strong-armed by like executive decisions, probably under pressure from shareholders. It makes me come back to the same quote from Miyamoto: "A delayed game is eventually good, but a rush game is forever bad." Don't do it. Just like how many times do games have to be rushed out by poor decisions, probably not from the development team, and then they're just not the game that anyone wanted.
Yeah,
and then the shareholders start getting annoyed. It's like, but you forced us into the bad decision.
Yeah, it's
I'm assuming it's the shareholders there. It might not be.
I mean, it's just legalities and stuff that come with the world of business, and I get it. They wanted to make money. They probably need it all in before their earnings calls, and I'm sure there's probably Christmas bonuses tied to a lot of it for the end of the year. And again, it's just kind of the level of when selfishness kicks in and business kicks in, as opposed to what's right for the audience and the consumer. And I'm sure our friend Chase over at the Gaming Advocate has got a whole shotgun approach to all this because there's so much to break down and talk about. And I just feel bad for the devs, really, who've put probably the heart and soul and a big chunk of their careers now into this. And I think it's just a lot of damage to CD Projekt Red's image. Don't get me wrong, they've got that little emergency break glass for Witcher 4 in the bank, so I'm sure they're not done by any respect, but it does a lot to say, like, do people on PS4 go out and buy this game again after the refund? Like, at what point do you wait, or is this just a game that is now going to be forever remembered for this showcase, and it's just never going to recover?
This is going to be a bargain bin pickup for people in a year or two's time when they see it on the sale on the PlayStation Store for like £20. Which is shit.
Yeah, but other than the PS4 and the Xbox One performance, it's fantastic on every other platform. So it's going to be bargain bin, but it's only going to be bargain bin for those platforms. Like the sales are still there, and as the consoles start rolling out for more people for current gen, then that's its success. How do you build up the hype again?
Yeah, I think the damage has already been done. The hype was so high, and that's maybe a bit unfair from us as consumers putting that on them, but that's what it was. And then probably, I don't know what the market share is, but I imagine it's well over 50% of the gaming market is PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, and as I'm talking only as primary consoles, for example, I've got a Switch as well, I've got a PlayStation 4, I've got a PS5, but my primary console at the moment I would say is Stadia. So I wouldn't classify myself in there because that's not where I was looking to buy. But many people just have a PS4, were looking forward to this game, and now they've had a bad experience. I don't think them people are ever coming back to it.
I'm very curious as to know how many people have looked at the price of the Premier editions that were like all over the internet now for Facebook Marketplace and eBay, because they were going for quite cheap when everyone got the freebies, but I can see their value going up now because everyone, like you said, Tom, on Twitter, who's been going out and saying, actually, it runs great on Stadia, check it on Stadia, get it on Stadia, play it instantly on Stadia. That vocal crowd is only going to get bigger and louder as more games like this come out and they realise that your old consoles can't handle it. And then add that in with the caveat of instant play. Like, I played this at 1 minute past midnight immediately. I got straight into the game and I did a first look. None of these like crazy. I mean, how many patches are going to come out for this game now? Like big behemoth patches to correct some of the shit. And it just makes me sit back and for the first time ever, gentlemen, I think we can sit back and bask in the bright yellow glory that is Stadia is the best place right now financially to play this without a big PC rig.
I feel like the dog with the cup of coffee in that meme just being like, this is fine, just sitting in this room of fire.
Yeah.
For us, it is like, it's fantastic, and it plays, as you say, smooth as butter. But for everyone else, it's just an absolute shit show.
Like 2020.
Have we mentioned yet about Microsoft also offering refunds, but they're not actually pulling the game? Just to get that out there.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned it, but again, so it's
just following suit, aren't they?
Yeah, just getting it out there. But no refunds on Stadia because you don't need it.
I've got a feeling one of the things that is probably going to cost CD Projekt Red a lot is the refunds. Sony will probably turn around and go to the Microsoft, going to them, look, we're happy to offer refunds wholesale, but you're still paying our cut. We're not going to be out of pocket on this.
Do you think gamers care about refunds? Like, I feel like gamers have that morbid curiosity where even if it was buggy, we'd persevere through it anyway. Like, I think I would if I was playing on my PS4. I'd be like,
you have seen it, right?
We're not all games.
It's bad.
A lot of more casual gamers, if you bought a game, didn't work, you're taking it back because it's an expensive hobby. It's like,
I just think we're lazy as well, though.
Yeah.
Not speaking for everybody.
Oh yeah, I definitely. I'm more likely to just keep a bag.
I'll wait until it's patched.
I made a bad purchase.
Yeah, we've all done that. But wrapping that up, then, gentlemen, we're no doubt going to talk about this for a long, long time. It's going to do everything from like the credibility for Game of the Year next year, if it's even in the conversation. I'm very intrigued if we can have a No Man's Sky return story. Will we ever see it on the Nintendo Switch? What kind of downgrading will they have to do to get it to run on that old hardware? We'll have to see. But for now, everybody, go fill your boots. Enjoy Cyberpunk on Stadia. The best place to play Cyberpunk 2077 without dropping a fortune on a new piece of hardware. Go enjoy it. Go play it. You can't even do. Yeah. Go play it. Go play it on your phone. Go play it on your tablet. Play it anywhere on the existing tech you've got. And it really does pair really, really well with Stadia's marketing message, and I hope the Stadia marketing team double, triple, quadruple down on this now, because I was saying on Cloudburst yesterday, we have a window now until probably Riders Republic, arguably Hitman maybe is the next big game. There's a good void window now in the new year where there's no big games coming out. If they just ride this Cyberpunk message into the springtime, saying you still can't get your hands on a PS5, still no Xbox, your last gen hardware it's been patched to hell, but you know what, it still runs crap. Just try it on Stadia. Even just do a sale. Imagine if they could do a sale half price or something in the new year. January sale on Cyberpunk. Get it now.
At this point, I'd be really tempted if I was Google Stadia to bring out, similar to the pre-order of Cyberpunk. They'll just go, look, you can buy Premier Edition, you get 50% off Cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Just absolutely milk this as much as possible.
It'll be
you might take a bit of a financial hit initially, but how many people who want to play Cyberpunk go, oh, but it doesn't work on this platform? It's like, well, if I buy this Premier Edition, that's $89.99, I'll get half price off. So for about £100, I get the game I want and get the Chromecast and I get the controller. A lot of people might try that when they're probably looking at £50 for the game anyway.
Yeah, you can do what you want with it. It's your own thing to do with what you wish. Our friend Luke actually bought the game on Stadia, got the free Premier Edition, sold the free Premier Edition, got Cyberpunk for free.
Yeah,
and it runs great. So credit where it's due. It works. There's millions and millions of options, and Stadia gives you more than anywhere else. But speaking of financially viable things, Richie, our next story of the week, EA. Those cold sons of bitches over at EA just totally screwed Take-Two over and swooped in on our last week. We reported on Codemaster being bought out for nearly a cool $1 billion. Forget that. EA have got a bit more cash in the bank than poor old Take-Two, it would appear. And they've swooped in and now are the key runner to acquiring Codemasters, which basically would bring EA kind of back in line with now being kind of every sport I think they'll have covered at this point. They've got Madden, FIFA. Now they've got all the racing titles. They'll have Formula One under the rig. They've got all the extreme sports games, the rally games, the belated Micro Machines franchise, and everything else. So yeah, gentlemen, how do we feel about EA almost doing like a last minute ditch attempt to acquire the UK team?
Cash in.
Do we think it's a good move, or is everyone now worried EA going to mess it up and microtransaction everything to shit?
I'm personally really worried. It's not the microtransaction stuff I'm overly worried about. I pretty much expect that's going to happen. But there's a line in the quote from the EA CEO, Andrew Wilson, with the full leverage of EA's technology. All of Codemasters' work is going to get ported to Frostbite.
Basically, yeah.
Codemasters are fantastic at what they do. I really hope EA I hope that's just a throwaway line. It's not the plan, an insight into the plan. It's going, no, we want everything working on our own proprietary engines. Just let Codemasters be Codemasters.
I mean, Codemasters is another one of these linchpin British studios, isn't it, as well? It's like it's got a history there, and it's always a shame to see these getting bought out, but like by big publishers like EA, only because of EA's track record. But I mean, it's hard to say whether it'll be good or bad, really, because I think this for EA is probably, I wouldn't say it's a new kettle of fish for them to be playing around with, but it's a little bit different. I really just hope that they give or keep allowing Codemasters have a bit of the freedom that they've already got, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
I could see it being similar to Microsoft buying Bethesda, where they're kind of just going to let them run as an independent kind of
I think
branch.
At first, I think EA will just be like, probably go to Codemasters, you just to be Codemasters, but and we'll support you, and then they'll get a bit more of a marketing push or something. But if the games don't sell to where EA expect them to, that's when I can start to see them start fiddling.
Yeah, it's starting to tweak stuff. Because again, it goes back to kind of, I think we sometimes forget because we don't. Obviously, we're not playing FIFA at the moment, Richie. Because let's get an update on this. It's. I still say we're in winter, and we're getting it in winter. And as of now, FIFA 21 has been out on other platforms for 72 days now, gentlemen. And we're yet to hear from the Stadia team, off the EA team. Obviously, we know it's more EA. When it's coming in winter, so 72 days into it. But what I was going to say, what I was going to say there is the casual gamers, so the types who do play the FIFA and the Madden. Again, not casual gamer, but that some people only play games for those particular titles as sports fans. Cyberpunk, obviously, we've just discussed that at length. I noticed this week last week in the UK, Cyberpunk actually came in at second in physical media bestseller. Number one was FIFA 21. So it's holding its own, a sports title that's 72 days old at this point. It was not pipped by Cyberpunk in physical sales charts, which I think it goes a long way to say how big of a company and the brands they have under that umbrella. So if anything, this could actually alleviate Codemasters into another tier of games where they become yearly staples of the industry. So it could be a great deal as well.
How many people out there do you think get FIFA every year as a Christmas present of someone?
Oh yes, many.
A lot of.
And kids especially have to wait till Christmas to get their game. That's like, Mum, Dad, what do you want Christmas? Yeah. FIFA. Need FIFA for this year, definitely.
So like Cyberpunk, it's wrapped and sat under the tree.
Yeah, but it will run better.
Hey, miracles can happen though. We got SpongeBob eventually in Destroy All Humans.
Well, yeah, Tom, you missed out on that.
I did. Wow.
I'm guessing you've got no time to jump in and play them this time of year, though.
I don't really care about getting any of them. I'm going to be honest.
Pro games.
But still, do you know what? At this point, seriously though, we're getting so many pro games per month that I now have a back catalogue of pro games.
Yeah, I said to Richie on Thursday when we were playing Avengers, like, I have not touched one of this month's pro games because I've had that many big AAA games, which is a great problem to have. We've bemoaned the lack of games.
Look how far we've come. Yeah. Look how far we've come from the very beginning when it was like, I feel starved for games on this platform. But now it's literally like we're being overwhelmed by games.
Yeah, they've got there.
It's a good problem to have, yeah.
It's been slowly building over the course of the year. They've made some... There's been a few missteps here along the way. But I think Stadia is generally just in a really good place right now.
Yeah, speaking of missteps, we all had Google go down for 40 minutes or something this last week.
Oh yes.
And then that made us all re-question everything about Stadia, right? Oh no, it can go down. The amount of people on Twitter I saw saying like, "Oh, this is why I wouldn't get Stadia and stuff." It was like, did no one remember the PSN outage that lasted like 3 months a couple of years back? Everyone's Christmas just you could not load up. Oh,
I noticed because I sat there, I was working here. And I was just typing reports, and I had a podcast on YouTube, and suddenly it started buffering. Like, what's going on? And then Google went down.
Everyone's life buffered at that moment in time, Richie.
Is that the lulz? That was the lulzsec hack, wasn't it? 2011 on the PS3, I think it was.
It was like just before Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or Christmas Day? Was it Christmas Day?
I think it was Christmas Day because I remember booting up my console and being like,
Yeah, is it just me? And again, it's weird because if that happened now, I feel like back then there was no Twitter to basically inform. There was no hashtag. There was no trending PSN outage or anything like that. You had to wait for the news article to say like, "Oh, it is down. It's on the website." CFAX. Check CFAX.
So I get people's problem and their hang-ups on Google Stadia for something like this. But yeah, it's one of these like pointing fingers because let's be honest, these consoles these days are very much about like being persistently online. Yeah. Like there's so many features. Embedded into video games these days that require you to be always online that it's just like you can't really make that argument at any point. Yes, I get it means you can play like your single player games offline, but the vast majority of games these days are very multiplayer heavy. It's just a again it's pointing fingers.
Well, even if they're not multiplayer heavy, it's things like your patches and stuff. Like there's a lot of online features that creep into single player games that you don't even realize. For example, something like Dark Souls, predominantly a single-player game, always had the hints from other players.
Yeah. Even then, I think it's the big titles like you can't play Fortnite without the internet. You can't play Call of Duty Warzone without the internet. You can't play Hyperscape or any Apex Legends. Nothing. Arguably the biggest games of the last year. You've got no luck. And my best way to look at it is what happens if you've got a power cut. Mm-hmm. You can't play jack shit unless... You're in Stadia off your cellular data. So if I had a power cut, I couldn't play Cyberpunk anywhere, but I could quite easily go sit outside or whatever on the couch.
Marketing fun for you, Google. Stadia, the best place to play in a power cut.
Yeah, 100%. Because in a power cut, a lot of local cellular towers for phone networks, they've got backup generators. So
although I imagine that if there's a power cut around the tower, I imagine that cut the restrict data massively in them events.
No.
Because otherwise...
No.
All right.
Because again, the power consumption's neither here nor there when it's either switched on or off. Like the pipe, the internet is just the pipe that's always switched on nowadays. So yeah, it would just keep going. But speaking of playing everywhere, our next story of the week comes in the form of... we go out on a wild safari, gentlemen. We go on a safari to the world of iOS, where now Stadia, not only off the back of you can play Cyberpunk here better than anywhere else without dropping a fortune, it's here. Tom, you've ditched your iPhone, and now it's finally here. You can play Stadia via a Safari embedded home screen tab natively on an iPhone or an iPad or any other Apple device. So the dam is broke. Millions more people now have access to test Stadia out. And it runs really, really well from what I've heard, from what I've seen across
until Apple find a legal loophole and get it removed.
until next week when Apple turn around and say, no, you can't do that either. In terms and conditions, section 53 of code 40 through, you're screwed.
I think with the official announcement through the Stadia team, though, I think that's it. I think it's legit now. Have had the chance to try it out. I still have my iPhone 8 knocking around, so I booted it up, just loaded up the web browser, went on it, and absolutely fine. Plays just as good as any other device, because that's the benefit of it. Doesn't matter how old the device is, you got the RAM there, you're all good, and it's great. It works. Definitely say it works. So fantastic, because now we're looking at really tapping into essentially you're probably looking at 99% of the mobile market at this point. Now you've got every other major mobile platform on board. It's probably just some of the
Windows phones.
Some of the smaller ones that people really don't care about, more budget lines.
This is where I think Google actually, now they're on iOS, they need to bring out a peripheral, something along the lines of the Razer Kishi, but also not £8 billion. Something that, to get the more casual gamers, something that you can just throw in your backpack, and when you game on your lunch, quickly attach to your phone and you're good to go. So it doesn't have to be anything extravagant.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah, but not the same level of cost, because I think that's personally overpriced.
Well, let's be fair, we haven't even got the Claw released over in the UK yet.
The Claw!
Oh, God, yeah.
It's like, it was available, and then it went out of stock and stuff, but it was all back to that, it was just US only. For some reason, logistically, they can't get those little pieces of plastic over to the rest of the world. So, I know me and Richie, we've both got the Ausley control, which you hate.
The Ausley mouse.
I hate it.
Tom, you didn't buy one, did you? You just went straight for the Kishi.
Just straight for the Kishi.
Yeah, I wish I'd just done that.
Remember
the
Rikishi?
At the moment is £79.99 on Amazon. It's like,
Chris, I thought we agreed not to touch wrestling ever again.
Yeah, but... Well, actually, it's not even a story in our doc, but did you see the WWE Battlegrounds is getting more characters, big characters added in? It's like, they should have just been there from the beginning. Come on. no one's playing that game anymore. If you are, enjoy, but sorry. Big, what was his special move? It's the ass face, was it?
The stink face.
Stink face, yeah. Could you imagine, being, again, sorry, side note to all this, but Richie, there's a wrestler who was arguably, he looked more like a sumo wrestler in his physique. Big guy was Rikishi, and his special move was the stink face, where he would knock you out, sit you in the corner of the ring, and literally put his ass cheeks in your face and wiggle them about. Yeah. And that was his, and then somehow you would be unable to withstand anything, and you'd be able to be pinned, because that's his finishing move.
If I'm a professional wrestler, I'm just refusing to fight him. Then
it's in your contract.
Fuck that.
It's in your Apple terms conditions.
I'm pretty sure that it's not in anyone's contract that you're allowed to have someone sit on your face.
I mean, I'm sure there's certain porn stars out there who have that sign their contracts.
Yeah, okay.
That's a totally different caveat altogether. Anyway, gentlemen, yes. So it's available on iOS now with added Rikishi on your home screen. Yes, more peripherals will be amazing, but I think, again, it just opens the door to more good news. And if you think about rounding out the year in Stadia, and we're going to talk about next week in our kind of Stadia review of 2020, how far we've came to a point where we are now begrudgingly on iPhone, many moons later than we would have preferred, but it's now available. We've got Ubisoft Plus on the horizon for everybody. We've got massive games like Cyberpunk running better on Stadia. It's been a great last couple of weeks and months, and I think people are starting to stand up and take notice. We've seen the journalists out there maybe not be as harsh on it. They've said, although they do like to throw in a couple of key words still. And there's a couple of articles that go runs surprisingly well on Stadia. To my shock, it's like, come on, you don't need to add those negative words in, but they still like to.
It's very bittersweet, isn't it? It's like they're biting their own tongues while
they don't want to, because they've been shitting on it for 12 months. They just don't want to admit they were wrong.
I don't get it. Just I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily about admitting you're wrong. I find it weird when people like, okay, this is our first impression of this was this. However, we've now played it a bit and like, actually, it's better than we originally said.
I mean, if you look at The Verge, The Verge has come around quite a lot to Stadia since like the launch of Destiny 2 being completely free to play on it. So, you know, there are turns. The winds are changing, boys. The winds are changing. But yeah, it is still annoying to see that bittersweet sort of take on it.
I think I think the negative articles were probably the only ones that were selling from Stadia.
More clickbait.
So they're not. So they're reluctant to not. I don't even know if it's probably conscious. It's probably just.
Yeah.
A lot of people tested it on launch. It wasn't as good as they were hoping, and then just bought into negativity without actually playing it. And now they've been tasked to go back and go, oh, this is actually good.
Yeah, I think it is that.
Hence the surprise.
Yeah, it almost is that like that kind of first impression, the decision was made, and there's a lot of podcasts I listen to that when Stadia has been brought up in the Cyberpunk conversation, they've been so dismissive of it already. Still, where it's like, oh, I've heard it runs great on Stadia. Do you think this will save Stadia? No, not a chance. It's like you'd literally given it 10 seconds of thought. You've not tried it yourself. Like you
There's
can't.
nothing to save. I don't think it's in a crisis. Like,
no. I think it's ticking over. Not as well as they would have expected, but I do think now we've got over a year under the belt.
I don't know. I think it probably is as well as they expected. I don't think it's as well as we expected or we hoped. Because
I think launch could have been. We've said many times. There's some things and features that maybe should have been there from day one, but I think
still waiting for that search bar.
Messaging was a bit. Messaging was a bit off from launch. Obviously,
we didn't have messaging at launch, Richie.
It was before launch. They rolled back a load of features and got, these will be coming in the future, rather than so we've spent the last 9 months expecting them, and now you're telling us they're not going to be there. That's not a good look right before you launch a new product as a new player in the industry. But
that is true.
Awesome features are here now.
Yeah, but great, in all, and we round it out very well. Last couple of stories of the week, then, gentlemen, before we wrap up and let everybody go and enjoy their wonderful Christmas dinners and such.
Yum.
Just a couple of quick ones to touch on. Richie, Football Manager 2020 was removed from the store this week. We thought it was just a Stadia only, but apparently the one of the game directors at the team that makes Football Manager has said apparently they do this every year. Due to licensing, they just remove the whole game from all storefronts, Steam and everywhere, while they renegotiate, and then it may be back, it may not be.
I find that an incredibly weird practice, to be honest. Like, we're just going to pull our game just before Christmas. Why?
You think they would just negotiate the deal in like a window between, and then if they don't renegotiate, then it gets pulled, but not to do it. Everyone who's tuned in with FIFA have seen FIFA been getting a lot of shit this last couple of weeks from footballers saying they don't have the image license, and it's FIFA Pro owns the license for their likeness, and Ibrahimovic and some other world-class players who came out and said, like, I didn't agree for anyone to use my image. And it's basically just their agents are just trying to get more money out of it because they're greedy bastards. Yeah. But the harsh reality is like, there's a lot more negotiating needs to go on for license things like sports when you're using people's faces. I mean, look, there was a David Beckham edition of FIFA just came out, and he's not played football in 10 years. So it just shows you how much money is in brand and image likeness when it comes to sports. You need that cover star to bring in the money. Which is a weird play, right? Because we know Football Manager 2021 has been rated for Stadia. Now 2020 has been pulled. It's just a weird thing all around.
Football Manager 2021, I think now needs to be considered in the same sort of jokey fashion as we did with FIFA. We're like, where is it? Like, we're a quarter of the way through the season, and your games are out. These games have a 1 year lifespan.
Well, they do with Football Manager because they'll pull it from the shop.
You can still play it though. I have checked. It's still there. If you own the game, you can still play it.
Yeah, which Google has said all along, so we know that's a thing. And then that's pretty much it for the news this week, gentlemen. Tom, if you'd like to do our usual, just a quick wrap up of any game updates for the lovely people out there. What dropped on the store? What games have had some listings or ratings, as we say?
Quite nice, actually. So the game updates at the moment, we have now received Assassin's Creed Unity, Syndicate, and Origins. They've taken a nice little eagle leap onto Stadia with discounts.
I can't do that justice. It's too high pitched.
It is. But it's great to see we're finally getting... I mean, at this point, surely now we've got all of those Ubisoft games that we were originally told we were going to get. So I think that just rounds out that collection there, unless there's
nothing that I can think of yet.
No. We've also now had ratings for, or even as far as being told by the Stadia team themselves, that we've got Reigns dropping, Enter the Gungeon, which is a game I'm really excited about, and Lara Croft, the Guardian of Light, is also coming to Stadia. I'd probably expect those to appear on Tuesday by the timings of things, because it does say before the end of the year, and we're very close to
Could it be US only though, Tom?
It better not be, because I need to get my hands on Enter the Gungeon. Also, quick shout out to everyone in the community as well. Don't sleep on Reigns. Reigns is actually, I have tried it now. It is a good game. It will be fun on Stadia. So get ready for that one. A couple of other things. We've had a rating on the German rating board for Epistory coming to Stadia as well. And Avicii Invector is also listed on the Peggy boards as well.
Yeah,
it's coming to Stadia.
I'm sure we're all. Can anyone of us name an Avicii song?
Can't name them.
I think if you put some Avicii on, you probably recognise some of the songs.
Is it that "So Wake Me Up"? So wake me up when I feel like that's one of them summer beats that he drops.
And there's our copyright strike.
I very much doubt it. The game, to be fair, looks a lot like Thumper.
Yes,
it's a rhythm game.
It's a rhythm game,
just mixed in with some Avicii. So, if you're a fan of, he's Swedish, right?
It's one of those chill games that you can just sort of like whack on, have the soundtrack playing, and you can just literally rave. Boop, boop, boop,
headphones definitely need that audio, inbuilt audio.
But yeah, that rounds up our game updates for the week.
Wonderful game updates.
Right,
so let's celebrate with some Avicii music in the outro. No, we won't, because we'll get struck off straight away. But yeah, a little couple of updates, more things coming. I'm glad you mentioned there about Enter the Gungeon and Reigns, because last week when me and Richie did them, we weren't really that familiar, and immediately as soon as we saw the gameplay of them, we thought that's up Tom's street. So great to see that. I think Enter the Gungeon was one that caught my and Richie's eye just with the art style of it, but Reigns and some of the other ones not so much. So do we think they're pro games? Because we've already got Temple of Osiris, so Guardian of the Light could definitely be a pro game for January, maybe.
Enter the Gungeon as a pro game would be awesome.
It would be incredible. I mean, Enter the Gungeon, if you've not played it, it is a brilliant game. It's once again, I hate to keep using it's a roguelite.
What's that again?
Actually, no, it's a rogue
ish.
It's a rogue. No, it's a rogue-like. So you go back to the beginning every single time you die. The only thing that persists is the things that you purchase in the shop get added to the game world as drops that could appear in future. Brilliant game. 2D pixel art style. It's a twin stick shooter. But it's a fantastic game. And Reigns as well is that fun little card game we were talking about before. If you think of like almost very Tinder-esque with the you're right, the monarch. You're the monarch of a kingdom.
I do remember.
And you have to make decisions. 2 games. Don't sleep on them. Well worth checking out. Hopefully they're good, priced well.
Fantastic. So to wrap up the show, gentlemen, I guess we could probably contemplate our pro games for January, because I can't even remember last year when they announced them, because obviously New Year's Day is when the pro games come out. So well done for everyone who's off New Year's Day, and you get to wake up to arguably probably 4, 5, 6 new pro games if we keep with the current trend. Couple of new games dropped, obviously big titles. Any theories as to what we may get for pro games for January then? We're 11 days out at the time of recording.
Okay.
I think they are playing the cards close to the chest, so as much as I say Enter the Gungeon would be a good pro game, I don't think it will be.
Okay.
I think it's probably going to be more stuff that we don't know.
So you think there's some
That's
surprises?
How recently. Yeah.
Interesting.
Probably something from the Hello Neighbor guys.
Another entry in the series, yeah.
Hello Engineer,
Hello,
whatever it's called. Hello Gardener.
Yeah.
Hello Cooking Mama.
Yeah.
Overcooked still. I'm still holding out for Overcooked. I wouldn't be surprised if all of them 3 games, Reigns, Enter the Gungeon, Lara Croft, are all January pro games.
I'm actually going to go a step further than that. I expect all 3 of those games plus Epistory and Avicii.
Also, just everything.
Well. The 5 games that have been rated. We get this though. We get this from time to time where it's just like, a game's been rated on Peggy, then all of a sudden it's a pro game for the next month.
Yeah.
Like
Peggy Pro.
Let's be honest. We are going to get at least 5 pro games. At least.
Yeah.
That's what I'm used to at this point.
I've just thought of a badass move they could do. 1 month of Ubisoft Plus. There's your pro game for January.
Not gonna lie, I'd actually feel cheated by that.
Really?
Yeah.
Because then they take it off you.
Because it's only 1 month and then it's gone.
Yeah, I don't think that'd work as a good.
Okay, maybe add that in addition, because that would be awesome. As a way of getting people onto the platform. Like, okay, yeah, if you buy Stadia now, you get your 1 month free of Stadia Pro, which actually comes with 1 month of Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah. Well, there's always one big title, arguably. Like we had Hitman last month, but they've run out of Hitman games now, so we could see that Tomb Raider, the final Tomb Raider, the trilogy, come across. I would actually, I think it would be in the good interest with what you're saying, Richie, about Ubisoft Plus, to give us one of the newer games drop. Like I would take Assassin's Creed Syndicate or Origins or something right now as a big game. And then I think that would lend people more to thinking along the lines of Ubisoft. So I think going into the new year, when Ubisoft Plus comes out globally, I think it would be quite a nice little deal tie-in to say, like, oh, you've played Assassin's Creed Origins, now check out Odyssey and Valhalla on Ubisoft Plus for free with your subscription. And then just kind of do it that way. Because we've not seen a Ubisoft game on Pro yet.
No. So... Origins would be a nice entry point.
However, we haven't mentioned it yet, but most of the Ubisoft games, like Assassin's Creed stuff that's just come over, are on sale as a pro sale.
They are. I'm tempted, but then, like Tom said, it's like kind of... I'm never going to play it anytime soon. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Syndicate, Victorian London, amazing. Unity, for all the shit it's got. Unity, by the way, nowhere near the Cyberpunk bugs and glitches, and that game got lambasted back in 20 whatever it was, so...
It was Unity was unplayable on PC, and it's one of them when you get one major platform where it's unplayable, it echoes throughout, and then people on other platforms. This is what's happened with Cyberpunk, to be honest. It's unplayable on 1 or 2 platforms, so any bug on any other platform is suddenly a massive deal.
Yeah, because I played Unity on PS4 and I finished, got the platinum perfectly fine, not an issue that I recall whatsoever. So. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of actually, again, Paris looks gorgeous. Climb Notre Dame, do your eagle jump off the top of it, all that. The mysteries, Nostradamus mysteries, sprinkle throughout. Great game. So that for that price, I'm like, I'd love to just go back and play it on Stadia. Like I played this in my bedroom when I lived at my parents' house on the base PS4, and now I can play it on my phone, on the Move, and it's like, and it's what, like less than a tenner at the moment. It's like,
tempting.
It's tempting, but there's so much to play.
I can see a few things coming, like things like maybe like Destroy All Humans, Ari, things that probably came out.
Yeah. There's a wealth.
Maybe even Doom.
We haven't been lie. I'm still also waiting for a sale on that Attack on Titan game.
It's never
like this. It's never happened.
Never happening. It'll be pulled from the store before it goes on sale.
Licensing issues.
I suppose the easiest test to do is usually just ask Tom what games you've bought recently.
Yeah.
Ooh, good shout. Let's have a look. To be fair, I'm actually going to let you down because I haven't really bought anything recently.
Oh no, that's our tried and tested method, is to know what's coming for Pro.
I bought Valkyria Chronicles 4, guys.
There we go.
Well, that's
going to be your free game, and Cyberpunk. Unto the End.
Oh, into the end. There you go.
The end.
All right. Okay, might be that one then. But no doubt we'll find out soon enough. Probably before this recording is wrapped up and next week's episode goes live, we will have our January pro games. I'd imagine they're going to tell us a little bit early because, in my understanding, I'd imagine all the Google team take Christmas off. They probably wrap up next Wednesday, bar a few scheduled posts. Yeah. And they won't be back till the new year. So don't expect much on this week on Stadia or your save point update or anything like that. We'll see. I'm sure with John Justice and everyone else in the team, it has a well-deserved holiday. So that brings us to an end of episode 65 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, our special bumper Christmas episode with the merry return of one Mr. Tom as well.
This guy.
If you are, again, still here, we'd like to say a massive, massive thank you for everybody's support throughout the year. It's been absolutely amazing. And who knew we get to Christmas at episode 65? And... yeah, we're gonna go straight into recording our New Year's episode. So here at Sounds of Stadia, we've got a nice, I was gonna say a tradition, but it's not a tradition. We've only done it once, but we always intend. It's tradition now. We've done it twice, but we like that consistency. So do not fear, ladies and gentlemen. There will be an episode 66 going live the following Monday for your listening and viewing pleasure. We will not be disappearing anywhere. We are taking Christmas off though, so we won't be recording live. So next week's episode might not have the current up-to-date news. If we don't reference the January pro, Yeah, but if we don't reference the January Pro games, there's a reason, because we didn't know. And we'll see you all in the next year. But from me and everyone here at Sounds of Stadia, just have a wonderful Christmas with your family. Play some games, try and relax, try and kind of put all the shit show of a year behind you, and just enjoy it all. So it's a Merry Christmas from me.
It's a Feliz Navidad from me.
And it's for Richie Vinenack from me.
Oh, well done, Richie. You're slightly better than last year on that outro as well.
I cheated. I got pronunciation up multiple times.
I've had a German tutor. I've had a German tutor for 12 months now just to get that one phrase right.
Sorry, Hans. What's that? What's that, Hans?
Hans, booby. Here we go. Right, let's throw ourselves off Nakatomi Plaza, ladies and gentlemen. We've been Sounds of Stadia. Have a very Merry Christmas. Take care, everyone. Goodbye, and we will see you next week. All the best. Bye.